Yeah, here we go. Happy Thursday to you. Welcome in. It is another edition of the Joe Raineri Show, brought to you by our good friends at wagertalk.com. Also, uwager.eu and the fine folks at Miami Acura. Welcome in. We've got plenty to go over today. I mean, we are loaded. If you look at the screen here on the side, we are bringing you knowledge upon knowledge upon knowledge. If you guys like smart, intelligent football talk, then one of our first guests here, Russell Baxter, he is definitely going to be somebody that you guys want to hear from. Not to mention, it's probably one of the most engaging, intelligent football follows on Twitter. And don't pay any attention to the spelling because they completely screwed it up. It's kind of hard to find good. Is it hard to find digital graphics people that can spell correctly? It is. And we apologize to Russell, but it's at Pro Football Guru. That's right, at Pro Football Guru. That is where you will be able to find Russell. We're going to talk to him in just a couple of minutes. Want to get his thoughts on a whole bunch of things that are going on in the NFL. Big storylines, Dez Bryant, the Baltimore Ravens, and John Harbaugh. Is John Harbaugh on his way out in Baltimore? A lot of rumors surrounding him this week. Want to get his thoughts on that. Also, Le'Veon Bell. Is Le'Veon Bell, who is back in Pittsburgh, from what I understand. He left here in Miami. He's in Pittsburgh. Is Le'Veon Bell a trailblazer? Is he redefining what the running back position should be for future generations of running backs? Or is he just a complete egotistical, me, lunatic ego guy in the NFL? There's an argument that could be made either which way. I want to talk to Russell and get his thoughts on that. Also, you guys know it. We did it yesterday for you. We've been doing it from the very beginning. The one thing that separates our show from a lot of the other stuff that you will get live streaming on Twitter, especially, or YouTube, and by the way, we're across all the platforms, Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, Periscope. We are broadcasting to you live, Facebook Live, and I see Jeremy is joining us. And good afternoon to you, Jeremy. Always a pleasure to see you. He's joining us in the chat rooms there at Facebook. The thing that separates us, and you guys know this, any of you that enjoy sports betting and sports gambling, then you know how many geniuses there are just on Twitter alone. You guys have seen how many 95% winners. You know, unbelievable. I mean, 98% winners. These are the smartest dudes in the world that are available on Twitter. At least they say they are. However, you won't find any of those jerk-offs on this show ever. Why? Because we vet the handicappers we bring on here. You will only get the best of the best on this show. We will bring you guys from across the country on a weekly basis like we do. But I can promise you, these are the guys that will celebrate their wins, but they will also be brutally honest about their losses. Transparency. Did I even say that right? Transparency? I feel like I'm spelling like you're spelling here with Pro Football Guru. Transparency is the mark of a real professional. And that's what you will get here. We brought it yesterday. Captain Capping was on here yesterday, gave you the Northern Illinois winner. Not only gave you the Northern Illinois winner, but he nailed it exactly the way it played out last night. He was unbelievable, was uncanny, but it just goes to show you the guy is on fire, and he's a guy that is very soft-spoken, but he will tell you when he's right. He'll tell you when he's wrong. But more importantly, he will lay it out for you. One of the truly best. He is a guy that you will see on this show an awful lot. And I know a bunch of you have been DMing me, when's he coming back? When's he coming back? We'll get him. He'll be back on the show again next week for sure. You'll be able to hear from him. The guy that I'm bringing on today, he's a regular here on the Joe Raineri Show. Why? Because it doesn't get any better than Ralph Michaels. Ralph Michaels will be joining us bottom of the hour. We've got games tonight, college football, NFL, and, of course, Saturday and Sunday. Ralph's even got one tomorrow night that he loves that we'll go over. But Ralph is the consummate professional. And that's why we love our partnership with WagerTalk.com. That's why we love Ralph Michaels. And that is why when you guys tune into this show, our show here, the Joe Raineri Show, besides the spelling, and that's Pro Football Guru, by the way, under Russell Baxter, you are guaranteed, we promise you just a couple of things. We can't promise you that the people we bring on, the handicappers, are always going to be right, because nobody can do that. But we can promise you that the guys that you will hear from are the professionals in the business. They don't hide behind Twitter names and behind Twitter accounts, and they're not just telling you how wonderful they are. You have an opportunity to meet those guys, hear from them, and hear from them here on the show each and every day during the week. We do this Monday through Friday, including our weekend shows with our man. You want to talk about another legend, right? Jersey Kid Picks. We do our 2-minute drill on Saturday and Sunday, getting you ready for the college and the NFL slate. Jersey Kid Picks is another guy that you can absolutely count on to be transparent. Both winners and losers, doesn't matter, but it's a guy who's been doing it forever that we trust. His clients trust him, and that is why he is on this show with us. So I promise you, and I've made this pledge to you, because sports betting is growing so much in this country, and because people are trying now to get into it, it also means there is a lot of shit that is flooding the marketplace, especially on Twitter and social media sites. Guys that are claiming they're the greatest thing since ice cream, they're the smartest. Well, I'll tell you what, if they're not on this show, there's probably a good reason as to why they're not on the show. So we've partnered with guys like WagerTalk.com, who, by the way, the Prez, he'll be joining us talking some NHL hockey tomorrow. You don't want to miss that. But that's what we bring to the table here for you. That is what this show is all about. It's meant to bring you the best of the best, so you don't have to worry about getting scammed or getting taken advantage of. The guys we recommend on the show are truly vetted out. So Ralph Michaels, the man behind the man, he's going to join us bottom of the hour. We're going to talk some picks with him. But I do want to get to Russell Baxter, who is on hold. We're going to get Russell here in just a second. Also want to remind you, Travis Wingfield, the Miami Dolphins are a hot mess. You want to talk about hot. As a matter of fact, let's go live to Davie, Florida for the Miami Dolphins camp. Yep, there they are. There's the Miami Dolphins right now. That is correct. They are the biggest dumpster fire of a 5-win team I think I have ever seen in my life. We just learned today that Ryan Tannehill is out, or at least it's going to be out until the near future. He's got some sort of tear in his labia. His labia? That's not correct? No? Close. It's Ryan Tannehill. Yeah, he's got some sort of labia tear or something along. I have no idea. But the bottom line is we will not have any Ryan Tannehill anytime soon. A lot of infighting going on, not only within the organization, the Miami Dolphins, but within members of the media of the Miami Dolphins are going back and forth. It is priceless. We're going to try to get to the bottom of it. Is this the worst 5-win team in the NFL? We're going to hear from Travis Wingfield. We're going to talk to him next hour. And, of course, don't forget, our man, the fantasy god, the guru, Matt Latufsky, sportingnews.com. He will also join us next hour. Start him, sit him, try to get you some daily fantasy advice and make you guys some money. So those of you that are joining us in the chat rooms, welcome. We love you guys. If you have any fantasy questions, now would be the time for you guys to bring them on there. Before we get to Russell, let's go ahead and quickly just acknowledge and thank our sponsors. Miami Acura, you guys rock. The all-new 2019 RDX. The holidays are just around the corner here, guys, right? So if anybody is thinking about possibly, I don't know, maybe getting a new car for the holidays, might I suggest you go take a test drive with the all-new 2019 RDX. Totally redesigned. The damn car drives itself. It's like driving in your living room. It truly is. The deals may be the best part about this truck right now. Why? It's like they're giving them away. Never before will you ever see prices this low, but you can only get them at Miami Acura. So for those of you in the 305 South Dixie Highway, Palmetto Bay, that's where you got to go. If you have no idea who Pitbull is, chances are you should call them, 855-564-4669. That's 855-564-4669. Go treat yourself. Get the car that you've always wanted. Only get it at a price you didn't think was possible. It's happening right now at Miami Acura. It's the all-new 2019, completely redesigned RDX. Coming up here, guys, in 20 minutes, Ralph Michaels will join us from wagertalk.com. We'll go ahead and get his thoughts on tonight's games as well as a whole bunch of games on Saturday and Sunday in college football and the NFL. But first, so he is one of the most engaging and entertaining follows on Twitter, guys, at Bax Football Guru. That is where you need to go if you haven't done so already. Russell Baxter, he joins us via the Miami Acura hotline. And Russell, I'm not just saying this, man, but truly you make an effort to be so engaging on your Twitter page with your followers, where there's a lot of other NFL writers out there that you never hear from, but you actually make an effort to engage with your followers. So kudos to you, my friend.
Well, I appreciate that. And I think sometimes people, I take that as a high compliment. Even sometimes when conversations go wrong, I think it's important to interact and talk things out and stuff, as long as the talk remains civil. When we start bringing up relatives and, things from World War II and, all that stuff, and it goes off the track, that's a little different, okay? But there's nothing wrong with having a healthy back and forth. I've said at times, it's funny, we have all these different ways how to communicate now, and we've forgotten how to talk to each other. And, you actually can talk to somebody on Twitter. You really can. I think sometimes it gets a bad misnomer and so on. Twitter, for me, I know professionally has been very, very good. I send out pieces, interact with people I probably wouldn't have interacted with before. And again, not every conversation goes good, but, when you're in the checkout line, not every conversation goes out good as well.
Yeah, no, and it truly is. It's a compliment to you. And if you enjoy talking football, intelligent, engaging football conversation, it's definitely the place to go, at Bax Football Guru. All right, Russell, I got a few questions for you. I'm dying to get your thoughts. Number one, Dez Bryant. Does Dez Bryant make the Saints the front runner in the NFC right now?
No, I think it fortifies them a little bit because they lost Cameron Meredith, kind of their replacement for Willie Snead, who's now in Baltimore. Remember, they got Cameron Meredith as a restricted free agent. The Bears didn't match the offer. Baltimore took Willie Snead as a restricted free agent. The Saints didn't match the offer. So I think that is part of this. I think what the Saints have done the last 3 weeks has kind of made them the front runner in the NFC. They buttoned up their run defense, number one against the run. Their pass defense is a combination of teams not being able to run, but also the Saints still being vulnerable to the run. Their pass rush is better, although Marcus Davenport being out certainly hurts them for a couple of weeks. He was really coming on as a rookie. But, they got Cameron Jordan. They got Sheldon Rankins up front. Their defensive line is pretty solid.
Yeah.
But going to Baltimore and scoring all those points in the fourth quarter and going to Minnesota and avenging 2 losses from a year ago, and then even though they had a little bit of hiccup in the third quarter and fourth quarter, holding off the Rams. Yes, I think it does make them the front runner, and in some ways, Joe, they almost benefit from the fact that people have memories of them losing to the Bucs in Week 1 at home.
Yeah, a lot of truth to that. There's actually more to be gained in losses sometimes than wins. Russell Baxter joining us at Bax Football Guru on Twitter. Le'Veon Bell reports, obviously he left here in Miami. They reports of him in Pittsburgh right now. Le'Veon Bell, visionary or selfish egomaniac, Russell?
Well, actually, it's kind of funny, Joe. I did not realize when I saw that Le'Veon Bell was on that jet ski down in Miami that he had actually booked passage on the SS Poseidon, because everything I saw from Le'Veon Bell yesterday was written upside down. So I don't know if he's a visionary. Okay. Listen, if he was a visionary on the Poseidon, he would have found the engine, correct?
That's so true. But he's trying to reshape the way the running back position, I guess, is viewed. Some can argue that, listen, what he's trying to do is he's trying to protect the running back position and the players moving forward. Do you buy that argument?
I do buy it to a degree. Okay, I do buy it to a degree. The only problem I've had with how Le'Veon Bell and his agent have handled this, and again, this is from the circus and not from behind the scenes, Joe, so, understand where I'm coming from.
Sure.
There seems to be an air of miscommunication, not with the Pittsburgh Steelers, but with Le'Veon Bell and his teammates. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely, 100%.
Yes, I think that's what, because I go back to early in the season when Marquise Pouncey and Ramon Foster and them said the things they said, okay? And people jumped on them for, well, they're talking about the man's money, blah, 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 blah. And to a degree, that was right. But to a degree, we kind of got the impression that they didn't just make up the fact that he said he was going to show up then, okay?
Yeah.
I kidded with somebody else this morning. We spent years looking for Carmen Sandiego. Now we've spent the last 4 or 5 months looking for Le'Veon Bell.
So true. It really is. And it'll be interesting to see when or if they use him moving forward, or at least in the next couple of weeks. I mean, tonight they won't use him. But on the other side of the field, the Carolina Panthers, Russell, how impressed are you with what Norv Turner has been able to do with Cam and the offense? Because there were an awful lot of people this year going, he's too old, he's out of touch, his offensive scheme is never going to work for Cam, but it's actually worked pretty well thus far.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that has always struck me in listening to players, and I don't get to talk to them as much as I used to, doing what I do now and so on, but even veteran players who I work with at ESPN and other places and stuff, they want to learn. They want to be taught, okay? Do you want to be taught by someone who doesn't know as much about football as Norv Turner? I will always remember this, Joe, because I remember being in Canton when Troy Aikman was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. He didn't pick Jimmy Johnson. He didn't pick Jerry Jones. He didn't pick Michael Irvin. He didn't pick Emmitt Smith. He picked Norv Turner. He picked Norv Turner for a reason. Norv Turner's success as an NFL head coach has been spotty, and that's an understatement. His success as an offensive coordinator has been completely opposite. And it's fun to watch what he's doing and watching Carolina grow. I mean, tonight's game features 2 very good, versatile second-year running backs, from Christian McCaffrey, who was a first-round pick, and, of course, James Conner, who was a third-round pick. But the thing I'm interested to see with Carolina, who, by the way, still has 2 cracks at the Saints this year, the team they lost to 3 times a season ago, can Carolina, Joe, do something they've never done in the history of the team? And that's actually have back-to-back winning seasons.
Wow. See, I didn't even realize that.
That sounds weird because this is a team that's been to the playoffs for the last 5 years. But remember, they won that one season, the division one year being 7-8-1.
That's crazy. I didn't even realize that. It's up 1 year, down 1 year, up 1 year, down 1 year. But they got their hands full.
Yeah.
They got their hands full tonight, though, on the road in Pittsburgh, a position that they haven't fared well in the past in their first primetime game. I think this is going to be a lot more entertaining than people say it's going to be. Some people think Pittsburgh's going to run away with it. I think this is going to be a very entertaining football game tonight.
Yeah, listen, the Steelers secondary isn't going to be confused, with the Legion of Doom.
Yeah.
Okay? So they're going to have to – now, Carolina's offensive line could have some problems with Cameron Hayward and T.J. Watt and Stephon Tuitt and so on. This is going to be an entertaining game. It's two teams that have played well. Carolina's won 3 in a row. Pittsburgh's won 4 in a row. It's really two teams – I mentioned these are battle-tested, playoff-savvy teams. I know Carolina didn't make it in 2000. We just said they've made it for the last 5 years. Pittsburgh's made it 4 straight years. Okay, Ron Rivera's been the coach there since 2011. Tomlin's been there since 2007. It's two organizations that have plans right now. Carolina went out this offseason, as you know, added a lot of speed to their team in terms of wide receiver and defensive back. So this will be. I think this is a very fascinating game. It's funny. The Steelers are at home and haven't been a great home team this year. They've actually been better on the road than they were at home.
Russell Baxter joining us, ProFootballGuru.com. A great follow on Twitter, @BaxFootballGuru. Make sure that you guys head over there and follow him. One final question, Russell. Interesting, you brought up Mike Tomlin, how long he's been at Pittsburgh. Well, we've got a couple of coaches that maybe the voice isn't being heard anymore. Certainly Mike McCarthy in Green Bay and Jim Harbaugh in Baltimore. But is John Harbaugh rather, is he on the hot seat? Should he be on the hot seat?
Well, I'll tell you what's interesting about the Ravens. I'm going to do more of a deeper overview, okay? You almost get the sense that this is getting ready to be the end of a certain era in Baltimore. And this is why I say this. This isn't because the Ravens have struggled the last 3 weeks. By the way, they're 1-4 after being 3-1. And their defense certainly deserves some of the blame. I know people want to jump on Joe Flacco, et cetera, but I go back to April, and I go back to the fact that Ozzie Newsome conducted his last draft. And he wheeled and dealed. And remember, the Ravens drafted 12 players this offseason, Joe, more than any other team in the league. Ozzie is stepping down. When you bring in somebody like Lamar Jackson, opposed to a Joe Flacco, who is a pocket passer, okay, you're changing your offensive style. Would you agree?
Yes.
Yes. And I think we might be getting ready to see a change overall for the Baltimore Ravens as we have known them under John Harbaugh. So I don't know. Maybe he's feeling the organization is feeling that within. Let's call what it is. Since they won the Super Bowl, this team has one game under 500.
Yeah. Yeah, it hasn't been good. It's kind of gone downhill from there. Certainly after they gave all that money to Joe Flacco, he's not been the same quarterback. Some will argue that Ozzie waited a little bit too long to give him an extension and then had to pay out the nose before it was too late. But it is what it is, and he's another one of these guys that even if they decide to move on from him, he'll be unemployed for all of 3 minutes. Would you agree with that, Russell?
Yeah, there's no question about it. John Harbaugh, he's been in Baltimore for 11 years for a reason. Listen, the Cleveland Browns, who go through head coaches like I go through potato chips, are in a division in which every other team has tenure at the head coaching position. Marvin Lewis 03, Tomlin 07, Harbaugh 08. Greg Williams 25 minutes. Okay, he's the 10th different head coach for the team since they came back into the league. Don't think that doesn't mean a lot. And that's why they are buried the way they are. But remember, John Harbaugh, Joe Flacco, in the playoffs, the first 5 years they were together, 3 AFC title games, Super Bowl title, and something not to be overlooked. In those 5 years, won at least one playoff game every one of those years, Joe.
Wow.
They've now won one playoff game since.
Crazy. It is. It really is the king of the heap there. That is for sure. Russell Baxter. I can't stress enough how great a Twitter follow this is. At Bax Football Guru. Make sure that you guys check him out. You're going to love it when I tell you. At Bax Football. He is the guy to go to if you like talking football and you actually like having a conversation with the person whose Twitter follower that you are following. This is the guy to do it. Check him out, profootballguru.com. Russell, it is always a pleasure and an honor every time you take a few minutes and talk with us. We thank you very much, my friend. Enjoy the week.
You too. So, fascinating week. Again, New Orleans, Carolina. A lot of cool interconference games this week.
Yep, a lot of good stuff to watch, my friend.
New Orleans, Cincinnati. New Orleans, Cincinnati. I'm sorry.
Yes, New Orleans, Cincinnati. Going to be a very, very interesting weekend for sure. Also, great follow. At Bax Football Guru. Go check him out. Russell, thanks again, my friend.
You got it.
All right, that is Russell Baxter. Always a pleasure to be able to talk to him. Love that guy. Great follow, by the way. So if you guys like having smart, intelligent football conversations, this guy's an actual NFL writer who's been around forever. He's one of the most well-respected guys out there. You can actually have a conversation with him. Like, he'll respond, and it's Twitter the way it's supposed to be, where they can actually have a conversation with the person you're following, kind of like we're doing with the crazy bastards here in the chat room who are joining us via all the platforms. We've got the usual suspects, I think. Facebook represented, YouTube represented, Twitter represented, Twitch. There is Mr. Dracula stealing corporate time on Twitch. We love that. Welcome in. Jeremy on Facebook. And we've got, do we have... I believe so, right? Facebook, too. We've got Periscope also and YouTube. So the usual. Hesil is also in there on YouTube. It's a pleasure to see you guys. As always, thank you very much for stopping by and hanging out with us. If you're just joining the show, that's the phone number up top that you can reach us here, 855-983-2255. It's the Miami Acura hotline. That's how you can chime into the show. We're just getting started here because coming up in just a minute, our man, the man, Ralph Michaels, wagertalk.com. He joins us each and every Thursday. We break down not only the college venue, but the slate of games in college, but also in the NFL. We've got two games tonight. We got one college, one NFL game tonight. We got a whole bunch of trap games on Saturday and Sunday, and he's going to help us break down a few of those. So this is where you get out your number 2 pencil, you sharpen it up, and you start taking some notes, because when Ralph Michaels starts throwing some trends at you and throws the numbers at you, these are the things that you want to know before you make a decision on who it is that you are going to bet. He still wants to know, where is Onions? I don't know where Onions is, but it's early yet. Onions will drop by, and I'm telling you, this chat room, we invite you guys, go to the chat rooms, okay? Any one of these platforms. The problem is you got to have some thick skin. These guys are brutal. They know their shit, but man, oh man, are they brutal. How did you guys like last night, too? We had Captain Capping on the show yesterday. You can follow him on Twitter at Captain_Capping. Nailed the NIU versus... who did NIU win? It doesn't make... Oh, Toledo. That's right. NIU Toledo. Not only nailed it, but he also pretty much gave us play-by-play how that game was going to play out last night. I know a lot of you have been DMing me today going, when is he coming back? When's he coming back? It was that good. He was that good yesterday. He'll be back and joining us again real soon. Some great stuff there. In the meantime, make sure you follow him. It's at Captain_Capping. That's how you get in touch with him. Mr. Skunt. Yes, that's S-K-U-N-T. It's a hell of a name. Mr. Skunt, we love having you on the show, too, as well, brother. Thank you very much for making us a part of your day. Ralph Michaels is going to join us here in just a minute, so we will go ahead and get you the picks. Also, top of the hour, Matt Latufsky. SportingNews.com. The fantasy legend, the guy that sits there and all week long figures out ways for you to not only win your fantasy league, but how to score money in daily fantasy. He's going to join us top of the hour. Matt Latufsky, SportingNews.com. And if you guys have a stardom, sit 'em, any sort of fantasy questions, go ahead, pop them in here on the on the chat rooms. We'll go ahead and get to him. He'll join us live just after the top of the hour. But first, once again, we do want to thank a few of our sponsors here. Folks like Low Cost Airlines. If you're planning on flying away for the holidays, don't do it. Don't call the airline directly. Just pick up the phone and call Low Cost Airlines. The prices are unbeatable. And if you're planning on coming to South Florida, for instance, maybe you want to take a cruise sometime soon, Superior Cruise and Travel, definitely the folks that you want to sit there and pick up. And just call those numbers. These guys support us. We certainly hope that you will support them. And coming up in 60 seconds, don't go anywhere. 60 seconds, Ralph Michaels, the man, the myth, the legend. He's going to make us some money. How many of you like money, right? Tell the truth. How many of you guys like money? Ralph Michaels at Cal Sports LV from wagertalk.com. Get ready. He's joining us here in 60 seconds.
Back pain doesn't take vacations. It never celebrates holidays. It's on the job 24/7 to keep your life exactly where it is, in limbo. But it doesn't have to be that way, because Laser Spine Institute can help you take back your life from chronic neck and back pain. With a less than 1-inch incision, our minimally invasive procedures have provided relief to over 60,000 patients with a 97% patient satisfaction rate. So get ready to stand tall and live the life you've imagined for yourself without pain. Are you or a loved one suffering from a bulging disc, herniated disc, spinal stenosis, pinched nerve, or degenerative disc disease? Call our spine care consultants now for a no-cost MRI review and to learn more. It's time to say goodbye to chronic neck and back pain. What have you got to lose? Laser Spine Institute, the leader in minimally invasive spine surgery.
Call 855-720-BACK. 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 That's 855-720-BACK.
Well, guys, it is Thursday, which means it's time to hang out with only the best. That's what we bring on the Joe Raineri Show, and there is none better than Wager Talk's Ralph Michaels, who joins us via the Miami Acura hotline, doing double duty, man, working on college basketball, and, of course, now we've got college football and the NFL. Ralph, have you slept at all this week?
You know, to me, the sleep doesn't matter, and getting off to a good start actually, helps a lot. When you're putting in the hours and you have success, you don't mind putting in those extra hours. If it's ever one of those seasons where you get off to a bad start, it's tough to do. Keep putting in that work, knowing it's going to turn around, but off to a great start this year in both sports. So November's always a great month.
Yeah, it certainly is. We're excited. And tonight, listen, we've got college football and the NFL. We'll start college. I don't understand this line. I mean, I guess I understand it, but it keeps creeping up and up. We've got Wake Forest taking on NC State. The line is up to 19.5 right now. NC State laying 19.5. And I understand that last week, Wake Forest, they ended up losing more than just to Syracuse. They lost their starting quarterback to a leg injury, and now they've got a sophomore in their place, but 19.5 points, almost 3 touchdowns, for Wake Forest. Is that just too much?
Well, obviously I don't have a play on this game, but I think I would still have to lean with North Carolina State.
Wow.
To me, they're a player that, Ryan Finley, an experienced quarterback, getting it done. The rush attack hasn't been well, but Wake Forest's defense has struggled. A 21-point win against Florida State is impressive. And you look back, you beat Boston College at home by 5. Again, that was a very tough game, but you had a 215-yard edge. You were -3 turnovers. And you beat a very good Virginia team at home by 14. Your 2 losses this year are on the road at Clemson, which everyone's going to lose to on the road to Clemson, and at Syracuse, and Syracuse is a very much improved team. So, to me, I like the way NC State is playing. I think they can get it done. I think both their offense and defense can excel tonight and actually bring home the cover.
All right, there you go. A game tomorrow night, Ralph. Interested to get your take on this. I had it circled on my card, but listen, it's Louisville. So anytime we get a chance to bet against Louisville, taking on Syracuse, at Syracuse. Syracuse, another one of these double-digit, -21 right now. I don't think it's moved since, but -21. Dino Babers, third season. Listen, Louisville seems to be a mess. There's rumors of Bobby Petrino being outed after this year. Do you like this game? What do you think of it?
I have a free play written up at Wager Talk if people want to go hear the write-up, but it is on the Syracuse Orange. And to me, Louisville has just quit. You look at their defensive numbers, what they have allowed the last 4 weeks, and on the road this year, they are allowing 68% completions, 292 yards rushing, 6.5 yards per carry. I don't think there's any way Petrino is with this team next year. I think he's lost his team. I don't think there's any way you can get it back. And now you have Dino Babers, who's turned Syracuse around, and he did the same thing at Bowling Green. In his final year at Bowling Green, he went 7-2 ATS as a favorite. Now it's revenge for a couple seasons where they went 4-8. They have the better team. They have an offense that, Eric Dungy was a potential all-ACC second or third string quarterback, but Tommy DeVito is so good, he's now starting for him, moving the offense. The defense is improving. I'm going to lay it again. Again, rare for me to like back-to-back big favorites, but in these two cases, I do.
Yeah, listen, it's all about value, and nobody finds it better than Ralph Michaels, wagertalk.com. Make sure you guys head over to wagertalk.com and visit the Cal Sports page. Another game tomorrow night, Ralph, also extremely interesting to me because we never see this, and that's Boise State being a home underdog tomorrow night against Fresno State, everybody's darling. It's +3, +2.5, depending on the book right now. Boise State, can you remember the last time Boise State was a home underdog?
Yeah, this is the third time since 2000. So in 19 seasons, they've only been a home dog twice, and the last time was 2005, I believe, to Washington State, and then one other time early in the 2000s. But they were also a home dog in the bowl game against Boston College in 2005. But we don't count that because it wasn't regular season. But I love this Fresno team, and they are a legitimate team both offensively and defensively. If you go back this season, I clearly have them as the best group of 5 team. Their only loss was by a touchdown at Minnesota, and if you remember the highlights for that game, it was probably one of the best interceptions I've ever seen by a Minnesota DB to save that game and give Minnesota the win over Fresno. Fresno's defense has held 5 of their last 6 opponents to a season low or a number 2 low. They're only allowing 300 yards per game. And this has been the most profitable team in football. They are 18-3-2 against the spread. So in their last 23 games, 2 of them have been a push, 18 wins, 3 losses. And because it's Fresno, because it's out west, because they don't get as much publicity as some of the other schools, these lines are still reasonable. Fresno also has revenge for the Mountain West championship game last year that Boise beat them in. They should have had home field edge, but the Mountain West had some weird rules. It all adds up to me, and Fresno gets the revenge and wins the Mountain West.
Wow.
Basically has control of the Mountain West to go to the championship game.
All right, man. Big push for Fresno State, and Boise State we'll see how they react. That is for sure. A game here in South Florida. I've been getting a lot of grief for this, Ralph, because, I've been hard on the Miami Hurricanes, and deservedly so. I mean, they're coming off of 3 consecutive losses to Virginia, Boston College, and Duke, even though it was almost a hurricane there. But I can tell you this, Ralph. My sources are telling me he has not lost that locker room. These kids, unlike Bobby Petrino with Louisville, they have not quit on him. He has not lost it. He's juggled the quarterback situation. Georgia Tech on the road. Miami is getting 4 points here, and I love Miami in this position. What do you think, Ralph?
Well, I think you and I are going to have to bet a beer then, because I'm going to lean the other way. Now, I don't love Georgia Tech, but I certainly have an opinion towards Georgia Tech. Miami's offense bothers me. I can understand switching quarterbacks, but the way he's been switching them for these games, he scored 13 against Virginia, 14 against Boston College, 12 points against Duke. Either quarterback cannot go out on the field and have and have the confidence that they're going to be the quarterback in the next series the way they've been getting pooled. So that's a negative for them. And then you look at the Georgia Tech option. The option, you can look at Navy's records over history. You can look at Air Force. You can look at Georgia Tech's. The option always gets better later in the year because the timing between the offensive line, quarterback, running back on those pitches gets better. You get better making your cut blocks on the O-line. And those situations, as the season progresses, when you get into November, those teams have a history of performing better. And now you're playing your third road game in 4 games for Miami, and you're mentally tired after 3 losses. Now your D-line's going to worry about getting cut blocks, and there's a different mentality when trying to defend the option this late in the year. To me, again, I am going to lean with Georgia Tech in this one, and next time we meet, we'll have a beer to pay off one way or the other.
Well, listen, I'm drinking scotch, so to hell with that, Ralph. You can have your Miller Lite. I'm going scotch, my friend. But you know what? You're on. I do think they have the athletes to be able to handle that triple option. But it's going to be a fun game, and if they don't win soon, they're going to run that team out of town, the fan base, I can tell you that. One of the other fan bases that doesn't think they can be beat, and with good reason as well, and I don't know that they can. Alabama, Mississippi State, 25.5 points, 26 in some books. Are they just unbeatable, Ralph? I mean, does Mississippi State, granted, great defense, but Fitzgerald hasn't lived up to the hype. Can they do it? Can they pull the upset here against Alabama?
Well, it's simple for me. This Alabama team is as good as any team I've ever seen. I've been handicapping power ratings for about 18 years in college football. And I always start my power ratings at 100. So whenever I start the year, the top team, no matter who it is, gets a rating of 100. Therefore, I can always gauge it from one season to the next, and it gives me an assessment of how good a team is. Well, Alabama right now to me is 128. That's 10 points higher than any team that I've ever seen, and that was the USC Bush-Linehart team that was very good. This team, I would make a 10-point favorite over them on a neutral setting. But, you know, if you want to, you need motivation to cover these big spreads. The thing I would do in this game, and it's been successful all year, Alabama is 9-0 against the spread in the first half. They don't pull their foot off the gas pedal. They play until that half full born. They keep that tempo. They try playing as hard as they can. In the second half, they start making some changes. As long as they have the lead, they're fine with that, and the other team often covers in the second half. So to me, I'm not going to step in front of Bama, but I would have an opinion on Bama in the first half, again, where they're 9-0 against the spread this year.
I'm wondering, the team that many think is really the only team that can give Alabama a run for the money, Clemson, finds himself in a tough position this week, Ralph, taking on a Boston College team. Let's face it, Clemson destroyed Louisville last week, but who hasn't? BC continues to roll. The interesting part to me about this game is Clemson is now up to 20 points, 19.5 and 20. Clemson laid 17 on the road against FSU. Boston College is way better than what FSU was bringing to the table this year, and they're only getting 20 points in this situation. Do you like Boston College to possibly, throw a few bucks on the money line here? You think there's a chance?
I like Boston College with the points. I don't think I bet the money line because Clemson just has too much potential. But Boston College is another team that people don't talk about. Well, how about if I told you in Boston College's last 19 games, they're 16-3 against the spread.
Wow. Again,
you don't hear about them. They're a running team, but Anthony Brown is one of the best quarterbacks in the ACC with a 16-5 ratio. A.J. Dillon is one of the top 2 or 3 running backs in the ACC. He missed a couple games. He still has 900 yards, 5.5 yards per carry. You got a defense that just held Miami of Florida to a season low, held Virginia Tech, held Louisville to 217 yards, Virginia Tech to 392. So Boston College, to me, is a solid play as far as the dog goes. I mean, again, anytime you want to take a dog, if you want to sprinkle some points, but, Clemson and Alabama are those two teams that are just too good that I don't think they lose this year.
I also think a very dangerous one of the top four. And did you see anything with the committee this week? Were you shocked with what came out with the top four teams, or is that pretty much where it should be, Ralph?
You know what? I don't concern myself one bit.
Love it.
With any type of rumors, with the coaching. It has nothing to do with how I'm handicapping a game. Now, I will look after the fact, and if a team is motivated because they're lower, obviously that's news to me that I'm going to use for handicapping. But as far as what they put out in general, that's something that if it doesn't help me handicap a game, or if it doesn't give me information while I'm handicapping, then I just ignore it. It means nothing to me till the end of the year. So,
love it.
LSU's may be higher, but you see the bias. You see the bias with LSU being there, with Mississippi State and Kentucky. Obviously, the committee's in love with the SEC. But again, it doesn't matter what happens now. We've seen a lot of changes in the last few weeks, so I'll wait till it pans out in the beginning of December.
My alma mater, I got to ask you before we switch over to the NFL, because I've been at a number of these games. Oklahoma State at Oklahoma, Bedlam. Oklahoma State just shot themselves in the foot last week between penalties and turnovers, and they lost against Baylor. Oklahoma is cruising. We know this. The mullet, Mr. Gundy, there is 2-11 in this game, but I got to tell you, it's at 17.5 and 18 in some places. That is an awful lot of points for this kind of rivalry game. What do you like with Oklahoma State, Oklahoma this weekend?
This is another game that, would be near the bottom of where I have, as far as strength goes, picking a team. But I've been asked this game on a couple radio shows, and when I gave my final assessment, it was a lean on Oklahoma. And the reason for me is this, is you look at Oklahoma State's body of work on the road, and they go to Kansas, they were a favorite. They go to Kansas State, they were a favorite. They go to Baylor, they were a favorite. So now for the first time, they're actually having to travel with Cornelius as the quarterback, a 12-8 ratio, but so much different on the road. And now they're actually a dog. So to make 3 road trips and be a favorite in the Big 12, and you still lost 2 of those, that to me is a struggle when you're going to go on the road. And again, anytime you have an in-state rivalry, there's a lot of pride, there's a lot of recruiting on the deck, and right now, they seem to be pulling the same trigger. So, again, normally, if you say to me, if you give me 10 rivalry games, I'm going to be on the dog probably 7 of those, because there's such an advantage to the underdog in the rivalry games that the line isn't adjusted as it should be. But I just can't trust this Oklahoma State team because, again, all 4 non-conference games were at home. Their 3 road games were as a favorite. So this is such a unique situation, being this late in the year and being a road dog for the first time.
Well, then I got to ask you one more then. The double digits here in the Iowa-Northwestern game. Northwestern is on a roll, and yes, Iowa is a good team at home, but we're looking at 10.5 here, Ralph. 10.5. Is there some value in Northwestern in this situation?
Yeah, anytime you have Northwestern, you're going to want to say, hey, I'm back in the dog. The Wildcats are now 24-9 against the spread as a road dog the last 11 years, and they've covered 8 straight as a road dog. Why? Well, Fitzgerald is an excellent coach. Northwestern is a school that you have to be smart to get into. His play calling on defense is sophisticated, but they're very good at it. They don't turn the ball over. They force some turnovers, and that's exactly what you need when you're going to back a road dog, a team like Northwestern. I do back the Wildcats this week.
All right, there you go. He is Ralph Michaels. WagerTalk.com. That is where you go, and it should be noted for those of you that are just joining us. Ralph Michaels, one of his fortes is college basketball. We had him on the show on Tuesday this week. He gave you that play at Ball State, and they ended up winning by double digits there, which was fantastic. But he has the opportunity for you, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Ralph, at WagerTalk.com. They can go to the Cal Sports page, and they have the opportunity to, they can buy a single game, they can buy a season. There's all sorts of availability and packages on how they can get involved with you on both college basketball and football, correct?
Well, there is. And even, a couple things people don't know. If you're a college basketball fan, even if you're not going to buy my plays, if you go to Wager Talk and then you go to the Cal Sports page and scroll down, you see my last 20 plays. You can click up and you can still get my write-up for those games. So even if you're not buying my plays and you want to see how I did the day before, you can go in there, you can read my write-ups on the games. If I have any systems or angles, you're going to be privy to them and be able to use them the next time. There is a special available now. It's not advertised, but we'll mention it here. Normally a 7-day all-access. That means you're getting college football, the NFL, and college hoops for 7 consecutive days. Mm-hmm. That package is normally $99. If you use the code TV59, you'll get 7 days of all my sports for $59.
Wow. That's
normally the price of a 3-day package. So if you're interested in that, wagertalk.com, go to the Cal Sports page, go to the 7-day all-access. It'll say $99. When you click on that, it'll ask for a code if you have one, TV59, and it'll save you $40 off that $99 cost.
Listen, we only bring the best of the best here on the Joe Raineri Show. So if you have an opportunity for $59 to get a week's worth of plays and a week's worth of knowledge and information from somebody like Ralph Michaels, then take advantage of it. Head over to wagertalk.com and do it. Let's switch over to the NFL. Thursday night game, a very interesting Thursday night game. This line opened up rather quickly. Pittsburgh, a 5-point home favorite, but we started to see an awful lot of money come in on Carolina and the points. I think we're at 3.5 right now. Carolina, the underdog, the over-under is at 52. Listen, they're prime time for Carolina. They're not generally good in this situation on the road. This is their first primetime game, short week. What do you like? What don't you like in this game tonight, Ralph?
Well, again, that's the big disadvantage of Thursday, as you mentioned. It's a short week, and people don't talk about that enough. Yeah, they're playing on Thursday, but, these NFL players are creatures of habits. They play on Sunday. They know what they're going to do when they're warming up. They know what they're going to do on the road. Now you throw a Thursday road game in there. You're short couple days of practice. You're traveling here. You're playing in a hostile environment. The crowds tend to be a little louder. They have a little more alcohol in them, and they know they're in the national spotlight. But with that being said, I look at Carolina, and, yeah, they have 2 road losses at Washington and Atlanta, and 2 games they could have won both of them. They had a significant yardage edge in Washington, and were basically even against Atlanta. But I like the way the defense is playing. You look at their defense, and over the past 4 weeks, they allowed a season low to Tampa, a number 2 low to Baltimore, a number 2 low to Philly, a number 2 low to Washington. They're allowing about 300 yards per game their last 4 games. Now, with that being said, it wasn't enough for me to pull the trigger, because I look at Pittsburgh and you look at what they've done. Situationally, though, Pittsburgh is off Cincinnati, Cleveland, and Baltimore. You just took control of your division by winning 3 straight division games, and now you host Carolina, and then you're going to play Jacksonville next week. So situationally, because of the schedule, I favor Carolina. Because of the short week, I favor Pittsburgh. I've gone back and forth in this game, and even though both defenses are playing well, both offenses are improving, and if I had to give you anything on the game, and again, it just because it's on Thursday night doesn't mean you should be playing it if you don't have a strong opinion.
Great.
I would lean with the over, even though I talked about the defenses of those teams, because the defenses can struggle on a short week. It's more physical for them to rebound. Pittsburgh's offense at home is completely different on the road. They move the ball much better. So, again, the slightest of leans for me, and it would be on the over.
He is Ralph Michaels, wagertalk.com. Before we get to the next game, I want to know, Des Bryant, a New Orleans Saints, does it change anything in your opinion about this team?
I think it's a positive, and just simply because you have a hierarchy there that is set, established, and little waves aren't going to make a difference. You know, when you've got Drew Brees and you have Sean Payton and you have experienced receivers, you know, Michael Thomas has been there, Benjamin Watson has been there, and, you know, Kamara is new, but Ingram has been there a few years. So you have a set of players that know the guidelines. And when a player like Des Bryant can come in, perhaps if it was on a younger team that didn't have that experience, he could be a distraction. But with this type of leadership, it's either, you know, we're giving you a shot right now to play on one of the best teams in the league, the second favorite to go to the Super Bowl, a team that just beat the Rams. Now you're coming in and you can be a significant player. And, you know, Des Bryant has to be ecstatic. I mean, he talked about going to the Browns, but now, you know, Michael Thomas has as many receptions over the last couple of years as anyone, you know, and averaging 11.5 yards per carry. So Michael Thomas is going to get double teamed. So you're coming in with a Hall of Famer quarterback, Drew Brees, a running game that's doing very well with Kamara and Taysom Hill, and you're going to be the number 2 receiver. You can't ask for more than that. There's times when, you know, as far as an Eagle goes, you want to be the number 1 receiver, but there's times when you're coming in like this and you want to potentially sign a big contract in the future. Being the number 2 receiver and not getting double teamed you can't ask for more than that. Now, having said that, in a very unique situation here on the road against the Bengals, who just seem to be in total disarray. A.J. Greene's not going to be there. You're looking at 5.5 points. The Bengals are going to be a home underdog, over under 53. Is this kind of a trap place for the New Orleans Saints right now? Well, you know, Cincinnati is playing like I thought they would be. You know, they surprised me earlier in the year playing well. But, you know, since he is 9-1 as a home dog against NFC opponents, you're going to have temperatures in the 30s or 40s, so you're going to have some wind. Breeze is not going to be able to do what he does in the Superdome. And I don't know how the Saints get up for this game. I mean, you just went to Baltimore and won. You went to Minnesota and won. You hosted the Rams in what could have been the biggest game of the year. And then you have Philadelphia, the Super Bowl champs, at home on deck, and then Atlanta on deck. You know, this is one game that, you know, are there trap games in the NFL? Well, yes. I mean, it's tough to be emotionally charged for all these games, and I could see this, especially if there's a little wind and cold weather, to be a spot where, you know, they may eke out a win, but I wouldn't back them certainly as an away favorite. Therefore, if I had to make a lean, it would be with the home dog. There you go, Ralph Michaels, wagertalk.com. Make sure you get there. Take advantage of the opportunity for you guys to be able to cash in on the picks there. Fantastic website. Make sure you go to Cal Sports page there. You'll have the opportunity, not only college football, the NFL, but also college basketball. Here's a game, too, that I circled, Ralph. Seattle catching 10 points against the Rams. You want to talk about in a interesting or kind of letdown spot here. The Rams are at home. Both teams coming off losses. The Seahawks killed themselves last week. But can we really lay double digits against Seattle here if you want to back the Rams? Russell Wilson has been an excellent dog in his career, and this is the largest underdog role he's been in. And, you know, you want to talk about the Rams. You know, you just played 4 road games in 5 weeks. You played at Seattle, at Denver with altitude. You traveled to San Francisco. Then who's your one home game? Oh, my God, it's Aaron Rodgers coming to town, and that game ended up being a 2-point game. And then you go to New Orleans and you lose. Now, in the long run, I think the loss for the Rams are good. I mean, I don't think it's good to get cocky down the road and think we're unbeatable and, you know, and have that pressure of saying, hey, can we be like the Dolphins and be undefeated? You have that loss in, and now, you know, boom, your focus is going to win the Super Bowl. But again, to me, this is a tough spot. You are on the road at New Orleans. You're hosting Seattle. You already beat Seattle on the road. Now you know you have them at home. You're going to Kansas City next week, which could be one of the highest lines, highest totals in the history of the NFL. A couple places here opened it already at 70 for that game in a couple weeks. But, you know, you also have to look at this now and say the Rams have played 9 straight games. Seattle just had a bye a few weeks ago. That's a big edge when you get to November and one team hasn't had a bye and one team is much fresher. Again, a situation where the Rams got a chink in their armor, and this week I could see another chink. I don't think they'll lose the game, but again, I would grab the points in this one.
Yeah, and, you know, my team, the Jets, we know Sam Darnold is not going to be playing. It's the AARP game where we have a 100-year-old McGowan taking on a 105-year-old Anderson. Bills, Jets. The over-under is 36 and a half in some spots, which is just embarrassing without there being some sort of weather issue. What do the stats tell us? If anybody will know the trends and things like this, this is a ridiculously low number in an era of offense here. But if you're a contrary, you're probably going, these two old guys are going to go out and light it up, and that'll be the end of it. But what are your thoughts on an over-under of 36 here in this game?
Well, isn't that funny? We just talked that there's going to be an over-under of 70 in a couple weeks, and here we have an over-under on the opposite spectrum. You know, anytime you have a game and it's this type of total, I'm looking back right now since 2000, since the year 2010, the totals of 36 or less have gone 6-5-1 over under. So they've gone 50-50, but you know, it shows you there's only been 11 in those 8 seasons, so just about 1 a year, sometimes 2 a year. But a lot of those, as you said, were because of those, you know, those Buffalo games in December where we couldn't even see the ball. You know, you expected those 13-9 scores and things like that. So historically, that number doesn't tell us over or under. But again, most of those times it's because one of those teams, again, there's either a weather issue or those teams have very good defenses. I don't remember a total this low because both offenses have been historically bad. So the Bills, 13 points or less for a 6th straight game. Peterman throwing interceptions more than, you know, some quarterbacks throw passes. And, you know, again, if you said who do you like, well, when you have 2 bad offenses and you're getting that many points, I would have to lean with the dog with Buffalo. But, again, you look at that team, it's just so hard to do.
Yeah, no, it is hard to do. And one final one before we let him go. Ralph Michaels, WagerTalk.com. Speaking of bad quarterbacks, Monday night, Eli Manning taking on Nick Mullins. Nick Mullins, who impressed the entire world last week. Primetime game. Nick Mullins seemed to be a world beater, even though he only beat the Raiders. You're looking at the Giants laying 3 points here. San Francisco getting 3. Is there any value in betting the Giants in this particular situation?
You know, I'll tell you what, being a first-time quarterback, coming out and having an impressive first game does not surprise me at all.
Wow.
You know, this is a kid that was at Southern Miss, broke all of Brett Favre's records at Southern Miss, but he was a quarterback that took the snap out of the shotgun and was learning how to take snaps. Well, San Francisco now is a 3.5-point favorite in this game, and NFL defensive coordinators now have a week of film on Mullen. That's a big difference. We saw that with the Jets when he took them to Detroit and won the opener, then he struggled. We saw that with the Browns with Mayfield, had a good first game, then started to struggle. Now that you have a week of film on this guy, I see a completely different scenario. You have San Fran, who's 2-9-1 ATS as a favorite. You're laying over a field goal. I will take the Giants as the dog in this game.
Wow, love that. All right, there you go.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, again, you got to remember this Giants team has been playing bad, but, Eli Manning was capable of having a good game occasionally, and then, you add a dynamic running back to the mix, and he breaks a couple plays, and all of a sudden, again, an entirely different story for the Giants.
Yeah, it so is. It's going to be a lot of fun this weekend, certainly being able to watch these games. Do yourself a favor. You still got time. Get over to wagertalk.com. Take advantage of the special one more time. Ralph and I, give us the code. Let people know. Go to the Cal Sports page, okay, at wagertalk.com, and normally you get a 7-day pass. It's, $99, but you have an opportunity to get all the sports, everything that you have to offer for just $59. Is that correct, Ralph?
It is. You'll go to the 7-day all access. It'll say $99. You click on that box, and then when you get inside that box and you're putting your information in, it'll give you the place to put a code. Use the code TV59, and boom, you're going to get 7 days for under $10 a day.
Yeah, I mean, that's ridiculous. $8-9 a day. I know you got it. All right, so go into the pocket and go there. Do yourself a favor. You'll make 100 times that, taking the advice of the guys at wagertalk.com. He is Ralph Michaels. Make sure that you guys follow him at Cal Sports LV. Ralph, always a pleasure to talk to you, my friend. We'll talk to you Tuesday for our college basketball rundown, but enjoy the games this weekend. Good luck. We'll talk to you then.
Appreciate it, Joe. Always a pleasure.
You got it. Ralph Michaels, wagertalk.com. And make sure you guys take advantage of that code, as a matter of fact, TV59, 7-day access, and you get everything. I mean, you get everything. All the picks, all the sports, everything you need. It's simple. Usually $99. You guys have an opportunity. Take advantage of that 7-day all access. TV59. Get everything for just $59. Gotta love that. Love our peeps over at wagertalk.com. Also want to remind you, coming up here in just about 22 minutes, bottom of this hour, Travis Wingfield. Had an opportunity to talk to him. LockedOnDolphins.com. He covers the Dolphins. The Dolphins are as big a hot mess as they come. They are a 5-win team that might as well blow it up and start from scratch. And I do believe we have a live look at the Miami Dolphins right now. There they are. That's live from Davie, Florida. That's the Miami Dolphins practice facility right now. It is a dumpster fire. And maybe what's even better about the Miami Dolphins right now, we know Ryan Tannehill's got I think he broke his labia or some shit like that. Something along those lines. But he's going to be out. We got Brock Osweiler. We've won 5 games here in South Florida, and the infighting is beyond me. We have the reporters, the media people who cover the Miami Dolphins are beating the living crap out of each other all the time, because you've got the pro Ryan Tannehill folks with the glass half full. They're very optimistic. Glass is half full. And then you have the other half of the media here and fans in South Florida go, we can't stand Tannehill. You got to get rid of him. We got to blow this thing up. And then they kind of meet somewhere in the middle, because you got Adam Gase, who's pro Tannehill, and then you got Adam Gase going after one of the big-time media members here for the Miami Herald, Armando Seguro, who covers the Dolphins. You got Gase going. It's total. Well, I mean, let me just put what it is there, because that's what it is. It is a dumpster fire. That is what we are talking about. Total dumpster fire with the Miami Dolphins. But he's going to join us bottom of the hour here. We're going to talk to Travis Wingfield and try and figure out what's going on. Do they have a chance against that Green Bay team that they'll be playing? That guy, he's got a pretty good quarterback. What's his name? Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, Aaron Rodgers versus Brock Osweiler, guys. That's what you're going to be dealing with. Get ready for that on Sunday. Dolphins right now plus 10. Oh, boy, that's going to get ugly. But speaking of, you want to talk about first-teamer, All-American, it doesn't get any better than this, and he joins us via the Miami Acura hotline. He is your fantasy god, your fantasy guru. He comes to us from sportingnews.com. He joins us each and every Thursday. Why? Because he wants to tell you to take Kenyon Drake. I'm only kidding. Matt Latufsky joining us. How are you, Matt?
Well, 2 things. Number one, I don't mind Kenyon Drake this week. And number two, I like that transition where you say, that's going to get ugly. Hey, speaking of, and then you immediately introduce me. So,
yep, that's pretty much the way. That's how we roll here, Matt. That is how we roll. No, in all honesty.
Yeah, with passive aggressiveness. Aggressiveness to start the segment.
It's Miami. You got to be kidding me. That's what we are here in Miami. We are passive aggressive. We love Ryan Tannehill. We hate Ryan Tannehill. But I got to, on a personal question, let me get this out of the way. I'm kind of stuck this week because I don't know what to do. I have Russell Wilson as an option to play at quarterback. And I do think there's some even though he's playing against the Rams, he's in a position where he has thrived in this role on the road as an underdog in his career. It's not a great option. To me, I think he's the better option between him and Andy Dalton. I like Russell Wilson. What do you think about Russell Wilson this week against the Rams?
Yeah, that's a real toss-up because obviously on paper it says Dalton. Not only is he at home, he's facing a team that's allowed the second most fantasy points to quarterbacks this year, but he doesn't have A.J. Greene, which I think is huge. And if you look at the Saints, if you really break down the numbers, they allowed 50-point fantasy days in weeks 1 to Ryan Fitzpatrick, week 3 to, I believe it was Matt Ryan. And then last week they gave up a lot to Jared Goff. They haven't been bad in between. Those huge games really inflate that number. So, yeah, I am worried about Dalton this week. And to me, Russell Wilson, much safer. This guy's chucking the ball. He finds a way to get it done every week. He runs a little bit. He throws it up. Garbage time, not garbage time. He's just going to have points. At the end of the day, you won't know any of his receivers who caught a touchdown, maybe. You won't understand how, but he gets it done. And look, we all saw that Rams secondary get shredded last week. Like, we all know that secondary is not that good, and they're a little bit vulnerable. So, yeah, I think Russell Wilson's a little safer. And he's got the higher floor. I mean, if you can name 2 of Andy Dalton's receivers this week, I'll give you $5. Well, I don't know if you can do it.
That's the problem. A little beat up, but they are coming off a bye, so that's good. They are playing at home. I don't know how great that is, but I mean, speaking of the wide receivers, I mean, what else is there with A.J. Greene? Is there anybody that if they're holding on to A.J. Greene right now, is there anybody they can replace with him?
I mean, I don't know about on the Bengals because obviously Tyler Boyd's already been great this year. Interesting thing because we look at A.J. Greene being out and you say, hey, good for Tyler Boyd. I'm not so sure. I think he really thrived in that secondary role. Now he's going to get Marshawn Lattimore this week. Obviously he's a must-start, but interesting situation. The rest of their wide receivers, John Ross is supposed to be coming back, and that guy he can run in a straight line. I don't know if he can catch. But he's at least interesting. They got a couple other guys. They got some guys who look good on paper, 6'3", 210, Cody Core, Josh Malone. But, obviously haven't done anything. And the Saints are very good against tight ends. So I don't know if C.J. Uzomah really steps up in that role either. So, yeah, I mean, if you're trying to replace a guy like A.J. Greene, obviously there's no one who you can just pick up off the waiver wire to do it. But, who people are going to go to try, Des Bryant.
Yes.
That's what people are going to try to use to replace A.J. Greene or someone like that, which I've certainly this week not sold on. Maybe a little bit in the future Des can do something. But, it makes it tough. The guy who I think is sort of that sleeper that I like for this week, possibly staying power, is Josh Doxson with the Redskins.
Okay.
They got the Bucks this week. You're not going to find a better matchup than that. Paul Richardson out for the year. Jamison Crowder still dinged up. Jordan Reed a little bit dinged up. Everyone's focused on Maurice Harris. He had the big game last week, and I do think he's okay too. But I think Josh Doxson could take off a little bit. But a guy who's had problem catching the ball, so hopefully he can do that enough to pay off.
Well, listen, he scored a touchdown. He ended up getting flagged for the celebration last week. But you know what? Not a bad alternative. Matt Latufsky joining us, sportingnews.com, Fantasy God. Your stardom sit-em questions. Go ahead, send them in. Speaking of the Redskins, Chris Thompson's been on the shelf. Adrian Peterson's kind of had the backfield all to himself, and the wheels ended up falling off last week against the Falcons. The Redskins are not a team that plays well from behind. They're not built for that. But having said that, they're going up against one of the worst defenses. Should Adrian Peterson fantasy owners, should they forget about last week like it never happened and just ride him again this week, or is age starting to become a factor for him?
Well, I mean, maybe. I think the biggest factor is the fact that the entire Redskins offensive line got hurt. And, three of their better starters are going to be out this game. And, if the Buccaneers can do anything well, it's they have a decent interior line, defensive line. So this is not, it's not a bad matchup, but it's also not a great one, especially when you factor in the injuries. I just think, you look at this week, obviously we got 4 teams on bye. Injuries aren't too terrible to the running backs, but, there might be a few. And I think you have to start Adrian Peterson if you have him, just because of the volume he projects to receive. But it's one of those lukewarm matchups that, 2 weeks ago we all would have loved. This week it's kind of like, I don't know. I mean, he had a great matchup last week and didn't do anything. I could see that being a game where the Bucs jump out to a lead just because we know how their offense can score at will, and then eventually, one way or another, right? They either get way behind or they get up. And so I don't know. It's a weird game to me with that one, and the fact it's on the road doesn't help. But very tough to sit a guy who projects to have as much volume as Adrian Peterson is projected to have this week.
We've gotten a lot of questions too during the week. A lot of Tevin Coleman owners. They were great when they thought it was his backfield, but Ito Smith's all of a sudden started taking touches away, having opportunities around the goal line between him. And then I got a lot of stuff from the Jordan Howard folks too as well. 2 running backs that are not living up to the hype. Do you like either one of them in anything more than maybe an RB2 this week?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're both, they both have great matchups. Jordan Howard's playing a Lions defense that's been terrible, and you look at Tariq Cohen's really taken a back seat the past couple weeks, which is kind of interesting even as a pass catcher. He's got 1 catch in each of the last 2 games when he had 22 in the 3 games prior. So I'm not exactly sure what's going on there, but Jordan Howard has been a constant those past couple weeks anyway, and facing the Lions who just can't stop anyone. Love them this week. Think that's a no-brainer. And then obviously Tevin Coleman, Ito Smith matters. I mean, he scored in 4 of the last 5 games. He's averaging 9.5 touches a game in that span. But I love that matchup. You look at the Browns; it's going to be cold there. When a team like the Falcons, a dome team, warm weather team, maybe like with Miami going to Green Bay, it's like, well, what's something that can sort of even it out? It's like, well, if they can rely on the running game, that's always good, I think. And I think the Falcons can. So against the Browns, and it's a great match. The Browns give up like 172 total yards to running backs a game. So I think both Ito Smith and Tevin Coleman can have really good games. I got Ito Smith in my flex spot. If I had Tevin Coleman, he'd safely be in an RB2 spot, and I think he's got plenty of upside.
Well, we got some running back questions coming in. So and one of them is right around your favorite guy. But Matt Latusky joining us, sportingnews.com. He is the man that you definitely want to follow on social media, on Twitter. M. Latusky, great content pushing out all week long regarding fantasy, both year-round and, of course, the season-long in DFS. Some great stuff there, but we got it. You ask and you've got it. We got a running back, all right? Kenyon Drake, Doug Martin, or Elijah McGuire. Those are your 3 there, babe. Who you like?
There's no way I will get this right. Let me just say that. I mean, the 3 names involved, my goodness. So Doug Martin, it figures to get the highest volume. Usually that could be a tiebreaker, but, man, that team, I don't even know if you want to play anyone from that team after what we saw last Thursday. Like I said, I like Kenyon Drake. I like the matchup. We just saw the Packers get shredded on the ground and through the air by Patriots backs, but, that's Patriots backs. It's a little different story. And the fact that the carry split last week was, 20-3 in favor of Frank Gore, very worrisome. The Bills is a decent matchup for McGuire. I still don't know if he's totally got his feet under him and is ready to sort of get those consistent touches. I very sort of unenthusiastically say Martin and just rely on volume there and hope for that ugly short touchdown, because that's a tough question. I mean, and it's sad, right? Because Kenyon Drake's clearly the most talented of that group, but
yep.
He's not being used.
Nope.
He's not being used. So
what about? Yeah, we got another. Somebody. A bunch of people have been texting in about Leonard Fournette. I mean, what is the deal with Leonard Fournette? He's going to be back this week, but he's a guy that's been shelved for so long. How much is reasonably expected if you've been holding on to Leonard Fournette for as long as you have? Is it worth throwing him into a lineup, or do you want to kind of wait and see?
Yeah, well, I think when they made the Carlos Hyde trade, that's when the red flags went up, and it was like, oh man, even when he comes back, he's going to be splitting carries.
Yeah.
And you look at this week's matchup against the Colts, who surprisingly have been pretty solid on defense this year, and they allow 7.5 receptions a game to running backs, which is I think second in the league behind the Falcons. So this kind of profiles as a TJ Yeldon game, which is even more worrisome. So, I look at Fournette and I figure he's got to get 12 to 15 touches. He should lead the team. He should get the goal line carries, but it's a risk. There's no doubt about it. And certainly like Dalvin Cook owners last week, I think most of them benched him, and he went out and had damn near 100 total yards.
Yeah.
So you just never know in these situations. It's always tough. I'm guessing if you have Leonard Fournette, if you waited till week 10, you're putting them in the lineup because you're saying, look, man, you're my first-round pick. You are not going to score a touchdown on my bench.
I love it.
Not happening.
Yeah, you got it there. All right, Matt Latusky, wide receiver question coming in. Need 2 out of 3. Corey Davis, Doug Baldwin, Devin Funchess.
I mean, Doug Baldwin's banged up. That decision might be made for you. I think you got to play Funchess. The Steelers' defense is one of these that started the year really poorly, so their overall numbers still look fairly bad, but they've definitely been improving. Kind of what I was saying about the Saints, too, a little bit. Chiefs are that way, too. They're quietly better than they look. But, on paper. But, even with that said, I still think Funchess, I know he's sort of been disappointing, but he's just better. He's healthier. And, Corey Davis, man, this is a guy who gets targets and never produces, ever. And you want to think, hey, they're going to have to throw to keep up with the pass. I'm not so sure. The Pats aren't exactly high-flying the way they necessarily used to be. They end the game with 30-plus points, but it's sort of a slog to get there. I actually think that game in Tennessee could be a lot closer than people think. And if it is, Corey Davis isn't getting garbage time. So I think Doug Baldwin, as long as he's active, projected to play, I like him against that burnable Rams secondary.
All right, we got another wide receiver question. Deshaun Jackson, Julian Edelman, or T.Y. Hilton?
I mean, if you're just taking one of that bunch, I like Edelman by a nose over Hilton. Hilton's kind of always struggled against the Jags, and that's a tough game for him. And certainly the Jags defense is reeling a bit. I want to think that the bye week helped them maybe regroup, refocus. So it's tough to sit a guy like Hilton. He's so explosive and can go off at any time, especially for someone like Edelman, who's high floor, low ceiling. So that's a classic example in fantasy where you look at your matchup and you say, what do you think you need? If you're an underdog and you really think like, yeah, I got to go big, you play Hilton. But if you're like, look, I'm a favorite, pretty comfortable, I want to bank my guaranteed 7. If it's PPR, probably 13 points from Julian Edelman.
Right.
Just play him and sort of decide that way.
And let it go from there. Matt Latusky joining us, sportingnews.com. Tight ends, we got one tonight. Vance McDonald or Ben Watson?
Yeah, I mean, both fantastic matchups this week, but McDonald's facing, the Panthers are by far the worst team in terms of allowing fantasy points to tight ends. Like, they just hemorrhage those points. And, that doesn't necessarily mean they will tonight, but sometimes you have to play the numbers when they're that overwhelming. So I think that's Vance McDonald.
We got another one, too, here. Austin Hooper taking on the Browns, or Chris Herndon, who's all of a sudden came out of nowhere, University of Miami Jets taking on Buffalo.
Yeah, I mean, that's a tough one, but I do like that matchup a little better for Hooper. Herndon, I mean, you never know if that chemistry is going to be there with the backup quarterback. They have some receivers who are healthier that we know McCown likes throwing to, so that sort of makes that situation a little weird with Hooper. The Browns are 10th in fantasy points allowed to tight ends. They've given up a couple big games that inflates that number. I don't think they're necessarily that bad, but Hooper's, fairly steady in terms of getting the targets. getting the receptions. Not a super high ceiling guy, but I still think a guy is a little more reliable of a play this week than Herndon.
Quarterback question: Marcus Mariota or Alex Smith?
Man, I don't know why, because I hate the Titans. I have Derrick Henry, hate him. I don't like them at all. But I have this weird little, I kind of like Mariota this week. And then you look inside the numbers there, and the Patriots, they face a running quarterback, and it really doesn't end well for them. Or, they give up an additional, say, 30 to 40 yards. And that's, it's equivalent to 100 passing yards in most leagues. That said, I still can't recommend him over a guy facing the Bucs. I know Alex Smith. I mentioned the offensive lineman being hurt. That's not good. I mentioned, I didn't mention yet, but I will, the fact that he seems to always kind of disappoint. He did last week at home against the Falcons. But, man, the Bucs are bad, and they give up so many fantasy points to quarterbacks. I think you got to swing with him in this week.
I knew it was coming. It was just a matter of time, so let's get it out of the way here. Matt Stafford or Nick Mullins?
Wow. Yeah, I mean, look, I get being worried about Stafford after the last couple of weeks, certainly last week, playing the Bears on the road. I get it. But come on, man, you can't start Nick Mullins. You just can't. What are we doing? And I'll say this, the Bears' weakness on defense, by the way, Nick Mullins now will definitely outscore Matthew Stafford. But the weakness on defense for the Bears is their secondary, is their corners. The Lions have two good receivers. They're big play guys. They're big in the red zone. And I just, it's one of those things where you can sort of look at the law of averages. Is Matthew Stafford going to have 0 touchdowns 2 weeks in a row? No, he's too good for that.
Yes.
So, I like him to get a couple. That really had been his baseline all season till the last couple weeks. So I think he can get back on track. It'll be, 225 yards, maybe 2 touchdowns, a couple turnovers, but ultimately, you do not know what you're getting from Nick Mullins. I'll say that much.
No, you don't. Running back, Nick Chubb or Marlon Mack?
Boy, 2 good ones. I think, as great as Mack's been over the past couple weeks, and he really has, it's just a matchup game. And that's one where the overall numbers look great for the Jaguars. The last 4 weeks against backs, they've struggled. They faced some pretty good ones in that span, though. I know Ezekiel was in there. Their last game was against the Eagles, who did not have good backs. They still gave up a touchdown. They still gave up, a fair amount of total yards. But I just, Chubb's getting the ball a lot. Facing the Falcons, they're a pretty bad run defense. That's proven. So I think you got to go with him.
We got it looks like a flex question here. Dion Lewis, Golden Tate, or Randall Cobb?
I mean, boy, that's tough. I like them all, but I don't like Cobb. I'll say that. But I think it's Lewis. I mean, look at the usage last week. That guy was the primary back, and Derrick Henry was just basically a glorified goal line back. Might as well have been LeGarrette Blount, you know. So I think it's him. But I do like Golden Tate. The Cowboys fantastic against wide receivers this year. But Golden Tate had the best game of the season against them, 130-some yards, 2 touchdowns. Only 2 receivers this year have had 100-yard games against them, Golden Tate and DeAndre Hopkins. No wide receivers scored twice. Very few have scored, period.
Right.
So I think Golden Tate's interesting this week for that reason. But in that heads up, it's got to be Dion Lewis.
We got an interesting one here. Wide receiver Traquan Smith, DJ Moore playing tonight, or Dante Moncrief taking on Indianapolis?
Yeah, that is a tough one. Boy, you don't know if Dez is going to play and how that's going to affect Traquan Smith, because certainly best offense, best matchup for there. So that might come down to if Dez is active or not. And obviously I would throw DJ Moore out. I mean, it's just we know rookie wide receivers are up and down. We saw it last week. He had the best match he could possibly have. I think he had 1 catch. So he could go off tonight. I mean, he's explosive, but it's such a gamble. With Moncrief, I think, hey, we got a little revenge game narrative there. We always like those, even though they rarely pan out. I mean, he's the worst-case scenario. If Dez plays, if you pass on Moore and Dez plays, and you got to go to Moncrief, I think that's okay. I don't think you're going to be really regretting it, obviously. So. We'll see, though.
All right, we got one final one here. Matt Letuski, sportingnews.com, joining us. This is a running back question here. We've got Duke Johnson, Wendell Smallwood, or Austin Eckler.
Yeah, I think that's definitely Duke Johnson. You know, people went nuts about him after the 2-touchdown, 9-catch game last week. I'm not just like, you know, they're like, hey, new offensive coordinator, they're going to do this every week. I'm not so sure about that. I certainly think it's good to see something moving in the right direction, but I'm not going to go nuts about him. But the other two, like Wendell Smallwood is just, you know, I mean, Josh Adams was the guy who led that team in carries before the bye and looked good doing it. Big 6'2" running back. He's really, to me, a very interesting sleeper going forward. And then, you know, Eckler really hasn't done much. He had a hot start to the year and has really been in the back seat. I mean, you liked sort of the potential for him getting garbage time stuff against the Raiders, but, you know, I don't think you need to. And again, like I said before, Falcons give up 8.9 receptions per game to running back.
Wow.
So this is a tailor-made Duke Johnson game. So that's a good stat for him.
There you go. All right, Matt Letuski, sportingnews.com. M. Letuski on Twitter. He is a great follow. Everything and anything that is fantasy football, that's the guy that you want to go see. Matt, we appreciate your time as always, my friend. Good luck this weekend, and I'm rooting for Kenyon Drake, brother. We'll talk again next week.
All right, man. Thanks a lot.
You got it. Matt Letuski, sportingnews.com. Love that there whenever he gets a chance to come on. Vori, it's about time. We've been looking in the obituaries for you, but Vori managed to show up here tonight. So go Raiders. Vori is in the house, and if you are just joining us, welcome in. We have been loaded today, and the best part about streaming live like we're doing is your ability to be able to watch the replay here, whether it be on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Periscope, Facebook. We started off the show. We had the man himself there. Just a great conversation with Russell Baxter from ProFootballGuru.com. Love Russell. Some great takes on what's going on, some of the biggest stories in the NFL. Then, of course, our man Ralph Michaels from WagerTalk.com gave us not only tonight's picks in college and the NFL, but gave us a whole lot to think about and a whole lot going on Saturday and Sunday. So you guys definitely want to check out Ralph Michaels, what's going on there. We just talked to Matt Letuski from thesportingnews.com about your fantasy lineup. And get ready here in a couple of minutes. We are going to talk to the Miami Dolphins, the man who I don't know how he does it, Travis Wingfield. I don't know how he does it, LockedOnDolphins.com, but he follows the Dolphins, and he hasn't thrown anything at anybody. It is a dumpster fire. There is no Ryan Tannehill. We know this. We had a chance to talk to him a little bit earlier. You're going to hear from him, get his thoughts on this weekend's game, Aaron Rodgers, Green Bay. Where are they going? They are a 5-win team, the Miami Dolphins, but are they the worst 5-win team that you've ever heard or ever seen? We'll talk to Travis Wingfield. That's coming up here in 2 minutes. We'll get his thoughts on the Miami Dolphins. But first, we got to thank a few more of our sponsors here making all of this possible. Listen, they support us. We certainly hope you will support them. It's our friends at Low Cost Airlines, Superior Cruise and Travel, and Miami Acura. So please, guys, if you're thinking about taking a cruise or you're thinking about flying, please take advantage of Low Cost Airlines and Superior Cruise and Travel. And if you're in the market for a new or a used car, go see our friends over at Miami Acura. Travis Wingfield, Miami Dolphins talk, coming up 2 minutes. Don't go nowhere.
Dish TV is better than cable TV. Why? Because you can save 45% on packages compared to your high-priced cable bill. Wow. Take those giant scissors out and cut the cable and save with Dish TV. Plus, you get a free DVR upgrade to record your favorite shows and free installation. And with Dish Anywhere, you can watch TV for free on your mobile device. Act fast. You can save hundreds of dollars. Does your cable company do that for you? I don't think so. Get all the best TV programming at your fingertips at a fraction of the price of cable TV. So say adios, arrivederci, goodbye to the high cable bill and save up to 45% on Dish TV packages today. These are limited time offers and can change at any time. Call fast. 800-293-0328. 800-293-0328. 800-293-0328. That's 800-293-0328. 0328.
Do you use the expensive blue or yellow pills to charge your sex life? Are you thinking about it? What if we can promise you the same results for less than $3 a pill? If you're paying $20 a pill for the other pills, you're getting taken to the cleaners. Our pills deliver the exact same results for less than $3. You'll save more than $16 a pill for the same results. And right now, radio callers will get 44 blue or yellow pills for $120 with free discreet shipping. You can save more than $700 off pharmacy prices. Charge your sex life now and save a ton of money. Call now and get your 44 pills and save over $700 and qualify for free shipping. Stop overpaying and call right now.
800-764-9168. 800-764-9168. 800-764-9168. That's 800-764-9168.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
800-761-1427. 800-761-1427. 800-761-1427. That's 800-761-1427.
Get ready to talk sports. It's the Say It With Me podcast. Now here's your host, Joe Raineri.
Well, guys, it's been an interesting season for the Miami Dolphins, to say the least. Started off great, 3-0, and then kind of had a little backtracking going on, but I don't think anybody even came close to witnessing what happened over the last couple of weeks, the turmoil, the drama, the infighting. I'm going to try and make sense of it all, and I couldn't think of anybody better to bring on than the guy who covers them, although from a distance, and maybe that's the best thing. Travis Wingfield joins us via the Miami Acura hotline at Wingfield NFL. Travis, Jesus, man, it's like a soap opera with the Miami Dolphins, man. What's going on?
What's new? I mean, pretty much since the time I can recall, that's been the case with this team. Pretty much ever since the Jimmy Johnson, Dan Marino situation. I feel like every couple of years we have one of these things where it's just like, more of this again. So here we are again, a familiar place, Joe.
Yeah, well, let me ask you, Travis, because it all started with the whole once again, the Ryan Tannehill argument. It's the argument of all arguments. Nothing has changed. It's always been stagnant. Although maybe this time you've got the Ryan Tannehill apologists or the glass half full people, and then you've got the other people who are just done with it. And nobody seems to be able to get on the same page with Ryan Tannehill. Is he done? Is he not done? Where are we with him?
Well, I know that everything in this league, maybe even in this country, is one. You have to be one extreme or the other. But I just continue to go right down the middle of that and just say he's not as good as people think he is, and he's not as bad as people think he is. And I think the biggest part of it all right now is just the injury concerns. I mean, this is a guy that, like you mentioned, he wasn't lighting the world on fire, although some people would say he was playing better than people gave him credit for. But when you add, a season-ending knee injury twice and then a shoulder injury that who knows what's going to happen with it now, you just can't tack on that medical risk to a guy who really isn't elite and expect to get positive returns from that. So I think that where we are right now is just frustration over the lack of health for Tannehill.
Yeah, and I guess maybe no answers, because we still don't know whether or not he's going to be able to play again this year or not. I mean, what is your feeling? Do you think he's going to be able to, continue to play? Or listen, if they keep winning games, do you even need him to come back?
Well, when they first announced that it was kind of like a day-to-day rest thing, and then we found out that he wasn't even throwing at practice, that was the first real big red flag to me, because this team has been very discreet and really, nondescript about their injuries. And we even saw, like, week one, for instance, with Josh Sitton, the left guard, they said that he had gotten banged up and he was day to day, and then we come to find out a day later he goes on season-ending IR. So I just don't think that they are very upfront about the medical stuff, and they don't have to be. So I guess good for them. But I mean, the fact that he's still not throwing balls and has soreness, there's got to be something going on in that shoulder more than just resting up. So my gut feeling is, yeah, he might be done. They might try to bring him back after the bye week, but even then, we'll see what happens with pain management, the soreness, and all that stuff.
Travis Wingfield joining us. LockedOnDolphins.com is where you get him, at Wingfield NFL on Twitter. Maybe the most surprising thing, Travis, is not what you expected from the fans, the infighting and the yelling back and forth in one extreme or the other. But it seems to have also taken shape with the media, the people who actually cover this team, where you've got a head coach going after, you know, a guy that's been covering this team since way before he has been here, and you've got members of the media going back and forth with each other. Have you ever seen anything like this?
No, it's definitely unique and from where I sit. But as far as, you know, the argument that Gay's made against it's Armando Salguero who you're talking about, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
And, you know, the way he attacks Gaze for basically trying to challenge him on how to evaluate a quarterback, that really rubbed me the wrong way because, and Gaze is right, what the hell does he know compared to, you know, a professional football coach? And yeah, coaches they're not, you know, completely exonerated from all decision-making because they are in that position. But when you have a media guy trying to challenge him based on film study and that type of thing, that's kind of where I draw the line. So I think that Gaze was right to defend his guy in that sense. But yeah, you do get the sense that maybe he is a little bit of an a-hole to the media, and that can rub people the wrong way for sure.
Yeah, no, he certainly can. And then, listen, Tannehill is one thing, but, you know, the last thing they need is more drama, and yet that's exactly what we have here because did we get a player that quit on this team? Did we get a player that took himself out of that Jet game, walked to the sideline, and said, I'm done? Please tell me Rashad Jones didn't do that.
I don't think that's what happened. I mean, it's hard to say without having, you know, direct knowledge of the team. I certainly don't have that. I don't think anybody really does as far as how that situation played out. But I do think that there is something to be said about the communication issues in that secondary and the fact that they always have these breakdowns under Matt Burke going back to last season. And I think there's something to be said to that because this team just is more talented than what they have produced, and especially from a guy like Rashad Jones. He's not used to getting beat because he's an all-world type of player, and I think this defense has a lot of issues when it comes to the way they communicate things on that back end. And on Sunday, they simplified things in terms of that communication, and it looked a lot better. Now, granted, Sam Darnold played awful in that game, but I think that there was a bit of a change in philosophy there. But I think where Rashad really got mad was the fact that, you know, they want to get Minkah Fitzpatrick in the game more, and they should. He's a top-level player already in his rookie season. But it's pretty simple to me that you would take McDonald off the field, not Jones. And so I can see why he would get upset about that.
Yeah, well, listen, I mean, he's 30 years old, and at that point in your career, you start looking over your shoulder. You've got a 21-year-old Minkah Fitzpatrick who is, for all purposes, maybe a little bit more talent than you. I get that, but I just think the optics of it all, this is the kind of stuff, and tell me if I'm wrong here, Trev, but this is the kind of crap you would never see on the New England Patriots.
Yeah, right. That's exactly right. And, you know, it's funny when it happens a year after they proclaimed there was a whole culture change situation going on. And I hate saying kind of going back to that, you know, blanket level type of analysis because the truth is, Joe, we don't know what's going on in between those walls, and we only have what the media tells us. So it's tough to really differentiate what's true, what's not true. But like you said, this stuff doesn't get out in other organizations. So, you know, I guess I'm not doing a good job of trying to explain my position here, but it's just, I think the ultimate answer is we just don't really know.
Travis Wingfield joining us, LockedOnDolphins.com. But I will say this too, Travis, it's not the first time under Adam Gase's regime that we have heard communication being an issue. Is that fair to say too?
Yeah, that's totally fair. I mean, having a linebacker go AWOL the first game of the season last year, that was the weirdest one I've seen so far. And that was before the whole Chris Forster thing. So, I mean, it's strange. It's very strange, Joe.
Where are we on the health of this team right now? And listen, the bottom line is we got 5 wins. Yeah, all right? You're in position to be able to make a run for the playoffs, as crazy as it may be. The schedule gets a hell of a lot tougher than the New York Jets and a rookie quarterback. So where are we moving forward with this team? Start with the health. I mean, how healthy are we?
Yeah, it's funny that they're right in the thick of things, and if they were healthy, I would have them penciled in as the favorite to take that sixth spot in the AFC, which seems like it's kind of been just a rotation of kind of crap teams over the last few years, and the Dolphins certainly obliged that 2 years ago. But as far as health goes, the offensive line's still banged up. If they don't have Larry Tunsil and Jawan James, either of them for this game, they can't do anything offensively because the backup tackle position is so poor for Miami that they just can't do anything when Tunsil or James goes out. But I think they're both going to play, so that's a good sign. And then from there, it's basically just the guys on the injured reserve we have to worry about. I mean, we know who they are and the fact that they are out. I think Charles Harris is trying to get back, but I think Brian Tannehill is officially out, if I'm not mistaken, already. So, I mean, a heavy IR list, but as far as guys that are questionable, it looks pretty good on that front.
Are you seeing, because you watch, you study film, and guys, if you ever want to see a truly in-depth take on what's going on with the Dolphins, head over to LockedOnDolphins.com. Are you seeing an improvement with Brock Osweiler? Is there anything to look at and go, guys, he's getting better? You studied the film, Travis. Does he look like he's improving?
Unfortunately, quite the opposite.
Oh boy!
I think he's regressing in the worst way possible, and that's what you get from a backup quarterback. Usually, they come in off the bench and they're kind of an adrenaline. And there's an old gambler's adage that the first game a backup quarterback comes in, for whatever reason, the rest of the roster elevates its play, and we saw that in the first game, even the second game against Detroit when they lost. I thought he played okay in that game. But then you go to Houston, he was dreadful. Last week against the Jets, he was missing reads. His accuracy was all over the place. His eye discipline was bad. I have several videos on my Twitter timeline showing that stuff, and it was as bad of a quarterback showing as I've seen. And it's funny to say that because he didn't turn the ball over. Well, that's because he didn't put himself in a position to turn the ball over, going 3 and out, taking the safest reads possible. And I don't think Adam Gase trusts him at this point, and the offense has become so mundane and so boring over the last couple of weeks because of that lack of trust. And I think that's where you are with Brock Osweiler right now. It's just a really, really scaled back offense.
Yeah, that's just crazy. And as I'm looking at this schedule now, you got on the road Packers, Lambeau. You got a bye. Then you're on the road to the Colts. Then you come home for the Bills. But then you're back. Then you got the Patriots coming in. You're on the road at the Vikings, and you're home for the Jaguars. How many wins do you have to have here to look at the playoffs here? I mean, looking at it on paper, can you beat an Andrew Luck that's healthy? Is the Bills is yes, but can you go on the road and beat the Vikings? And is that possible?
Well, road games for this team are always a challenge no matter who it is. So we'll see about that. But as far as what they have to do to get in, I do think that 9 wins will get that 6th seed, whether it's Baltimore, Cincinnati, Jacksonville, Tennessee, Indianapolis, or even Miami. I don't think Miami gets there ultimately. I think you look at the 2 Bills games as wins, and if you lose one of those games, you've got a whole other issue of problems because that Bills team, even though they have 2 wins, they are awful. One of the worst offenses in league history. So they have to win those games. And then from there, you kind of break it down into the home games the Dolphins have a chance to win. Can they beat the Patriots again like they typically do in Miami? I don't know this time around. Can they beat Jacksonville? That's a good defense, but Blake Bortles is pretty bad, so you never know there. I think the game that will really tell us which direction this season is going to go is that Colts game in a couple of weeks. If they can beat the Colts on the road, they give themselves at least a chance to beat Buffalo twice. That's 8 wins. And if you can find a win against Jacksonville, New England, or Minnesota, that would be 9. Obviously a tough task, but that's kind of the path to the playoffs for Miami.
Well, listen, it's Aaron Rodgers who's a little pissed off here coming off of back-to-back losses, going to Lambeau Field. But quite honestly, Travis, the best part about I shouldn't say the best part, the most consistent part of this Dolphins has been on the defensive side of the ball. You said they scaled things back. How much are we going to learn? How much should we read into what we see against Aaron Rodgers this weekend?
So what they did against the Jets is not going to work against Aaron Rodgers because they ran a lot of these really soft zone concepts that really just opened up gaps in the middle of the defense, and Darnold just didn't see him, and he wasn't good enough to get the ball into those gaps. And you go back to the tape, and there was opportunities for the Jets offense all game, and they just didn't take advantage of it. Rodgers is going to be very different than that. You mentioned coming off the back-to-back losses. They are a desperate team. this feels like a total buzzsaw for the Dolphins this weekend.
It certainly does. And I don't think enough can be said because we keep pointing out the flaws all over the place with this team. But maybe the most consistent player this team has seen all year long. Can we get some props for Kiko Alonso? Has the guy been playing out of his mind? I mean, we talked about him after the first couple of weeks, but he's a guy that is a high motor guy, high engine guy, but he seems to be bringing it each and every week here, man. Are you surprised on how consistent he's been?
You know, the thing about Kiko Alonso's game is a lot of the turnovers and takeaways, which are great. Don't get me wrong. Those are really, you know, an aspect of a football team you have to have on a good team. But it does cover up some of his deficiencies in terms of, you know, the run fits on defense. And, yeah, he's had a very good year, much better than I thought he would, a lot better than last year for sure. But not to kind of change the subject on you here, Joe, but I think that rookie linebacker Jerome Baker has shown the most growth and the most future potential of that group. He is really looking like a player that can help in all three phases of the game, whether it's coverage, rush, or run support, and I'm really excited about his future.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, they've got some really good key pieces on the defensive side of the ball. I think what's going to happen here moving forward, the success of this team is going to lie on the health of that offensive line. I know how cliche that is, but it really is the truth with this team. If this offensive line can get back and stay healthy, you give them a puncher's chance, don't you?
Absolutely. I mean, look, Laramie Tunsil has been, by all measurements, one of the best left tackles in the NFL this year. You go back to some of the elite pass rushers that he has erased. He is really getting the job done. And you see the drop-off from him to Sam Young or Zach Stirrup. But, yeah, as long as they can – I mean, it's hard to say because the interior part of the offensive line just hasn't been good. I mean, Ted Larson was a tire fire last week, and I wouldn't be surprised if he got replaced at some point. But as far as the tackles go, yeah, this team basically relies on the health of Tunsil and James right now.
Yeah, well, all right. I'm just going to say this now, Dolphin fans. All right, don't look into this weekend. All right, don't read a lot into it. As a matter of fact, if you never turn on the TV from now until Monday, you'll be good to go. No point in watching a pissed-off Aaron Rodgers at Lambeau Field, and then you're going to get all crazy. Don't do it. You still got plenty of games that are winnable here moving on for this season, and who knows? I mean, stranger things have happened. Travis Wingfield, LockedOnDolphins.com. Go check it out. If you want to know what's going on with the Dolphins, you want an honest, level-headed opinion about what's going on, that is the place to go. Locked on Dolphins. Make sure you follow Travis at Wingfield NFL. Travis, don't get in any more brawls on social media. You just hang out. You keep being you, brother, all right? And we'll talk to you again soon.
Hey, I appreciate it, Joe, and good luck on selling patience to an NFL fan. That's a tall hill to climb.
I appreciate that. Travis Wingfield, LockedOnDolphins.com. He's got I guess maybe asking Dolphin fans to be patient is not exactly the most realistic thing to do. Big shout out to Vori once again. Vori is taking the over tonight in the Steelers game. He wants everybody to know that. I went ahead and took, I don't think they're going to be able to score in the 20s, that being, well, at least in the mid to upper 20s, that being the Carolina Panthers. So I took the Panthers 23.5 under for total points in the game. I do think Pittsburgh has got enough to win this game, and but I don't think you're going to get more than maybe 17 to 21 points on the road in this position from the Carolina Panthers. So I went ahead and took that. I also took Wake Forest here tonight, who I believe is getting 20 points now. Is that what it's up to? Let me just double check what that is. I think it's up to 20 points. It was 19.5 earlier. Let me see here. Wake Forest. Oh, a lot of money came in. Wow, so that looks it's 19. Okay, so it came in down at 19. So NC State, 19-point favorite. I got Wake. The over there as well, I do believe. Is that what it is? The over-under. I got some money coming in on that being 67. So, and I think Vori's taking that also. But you guys, what does I got, Rory? Let me double check here, see what Rory's got here for the thing. I do think, what'd you take, Rory? 67? How much did you get it on the over? Let me double check here. Yeah, it's up to 20 points now. Yeah, it opened up at 15, and then a boatload of money came in, and then they started jacking it up. So it's at 19 right now. Which is crazy when you think about it. But I'm not sure that NC State is that much better. But if you guys want to check it out, we were loaded here today. Ralph Michaels joined us, of course. You guys will be able to rewind this as soon as we're done here, be able to check out what he says about not only tonight's games, but what he thinks about tomorrow night's game, and then Saturday and Sunday. We got all sorts of great information from one of the best handicappers there is. That's Ralph Michaels. Also, take advantage of the 7-day deal at Wager, all access, 7 days, usually $99. It is now $59. You get access to every sport. Pick your capper, your favorite capper. You get access to every sport for just $59. Use the code TV59 and take advantage of it. You get it for a week. Go see what Ralph Michaels is brewing, especially in college basketball. But more importantly, make sure you rewind what he said here tonight. You guys all have access to it. Check it out. Got some great points about some of the games that are coming up moving forward here. What is Vari telling us? Vari. Vari's got the over. Georgia Tech over the Miami Hurricanes. I got Miami getting 4, by the way. I'm taking Miami. Ralph and I actually have a beer bet on that game. He likes Georgia Tech. I like Miami. I don't think there's any way Miami loses this game. I don't think that I know Mark Richt hasn't lost the locker room, and I do think that they can take care of business with Georgia Tech. As piss poor as that offense has been, I do think Miami can certainly take care of them. But we'll cover that tomorrow. We'll have all your college and NFL games. Not to mention, very special handicapper tomorrow joining us on the show. It's the Prez. That is right. NHL God, the Prez, who has been on fire this year picking NHL games. He is also the man behind WagerTalk.com. He's going to join us on the show tomorrow, too. We're going to be talking a little bit of NHL tomorrow, making you guys some money as you head into the weekend. And also, a very interesting guest going to be joining us tomorrow, the CEO of a really cool website, app right now that allows you to do a lot of in-game betting and prop betting. And you're going to have a chance to hear all about it tomorrow. It's definitely something you're going to want to download. But we'll talk with the CEO tomorrow for this. Love the technology aspect of it. You guys are going to love it. Big announcement coming your way. Want to thank our friends at UWager and, of course, WagerTalk.com as always. Let's see here. What is that? What has Vori got for us? Vori, 68.5. Wake, North Carolina is the over tonight. Interesting. All right, Wake over. You got the over tonight. You don't think there's going to be any defense. 20 points is a lot for North Carolina State to be laying 20 points. I like Wake Forest. I don't think they're going to get run over by any stretch of the imagination. So I got Wake tonight. Travis Wingfield, Locked On Dolphins. Make sure you guys follow him. Russell Baxter, one of the best Twitter follows there is. Make sure you head over there at Bax Football Guru. You're going to love him. Matt Latufsky. M. Latufsky on Twitter, sportingnews.com. Always a pleasure talking on his fantasy advice. What is going on? Vori will join us tomorrow, too, as well. We are loaded here every day of the week. We bring you nothing but the best when it comes to professional handicappers, so you don't have to go through all the shit that is available out there, and everyone's a 95% winner. Everyone's the greatest thing in the world. And they hide behind a Twitter, and they hide behind a Twitter name, and you never know. But they got no problem taking your money. You'll never find those guys here. If I bring a handicapper on this show, then you guys are guaranteed to know that they have been vetted and that they are the best of the best. And it's also that I would spend money with them. And if I'm going to spend money with them, then I'm bringing them on. If I don't trust them, I would never bring them on here and ask you to go ahead and follow them and invest in them. The guys I bring on this show are the best of the best. Ralph Michaels today, the Prez tomorrow, Captain's Capping yesterday. We only bring you the best of the best. That's why Vari hangs out with us here on the show, because he knows, yes, Vari, we love you, brother. Enjoy. Good night. Vari knows when you want expert advice, you need to trust where it is you're going to get that advice. You can trust the Joe Raineri Show for that, because the only guys we're bringing on here are the guys that are going to make you money, that are proven professional winners. They are the professional sports handicappers, not the guys that tell you how great they are on their Twitter accounts and you have no idea who they are. You get to know our guys, you get to meet our handicappers, and you get to make the decision for yourself whether you want to do business with them, but we bring them on the show so you can weed through all the crap and you can see who the best of the best are. And what we ask, please, guys, subscribe, like this, follow us, tell your friends, tell your relatives, tell the creepy guy in the cubicle next to you in the office. Make sure that you guys, all the support, honestly, it would mean the world to us. Our sponsors love you. We love you. And we thank you so very much for making us a part of the day. So your support means the world. Subscribe, like, follow, retweet, do all of that good stuff. You got our back. We will always have your back here on the Joe Raineri Show, and you can count on that. Don't forget Jersey Kid Picks, Saturday 2-minute drill, getting you ready for the kickoff on Saturday in college football. But we still got one more day this week. The Prez tomorrow on the show, NHL, wagertalk.com. Looking forward to him. Thank you again to all the guests. Thank you guys for hanging out with us. Enjoy the games tonight. Come back and join us tomorrow, 4 p.m. We love you. Have a great night. Thanks for making us a part of it. We'll talk to you then.